you have a stutter, or if you have some other thing that you're dealing with in your life, I would just say, like, don't be scared of showing who you are. Like, my whole world has just opened out. I feel like once I wasn't scared of showing other people who I was.
Welcome to Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. My name is Greg O'Grady, and I'm a person who stutters and a co-host of Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, along with my co-hosts.
And I'm Katelyn Mayo. I'm a student, and I'm Greg's co-host on this podcast.
Some Stutter Law mission is dismantling and rebuilding stuttering. Let's start listening. Some Stutter Law mandate is, in the spirit of Newfoundland and Labrador's humor, robust and frank interactive discussions, Some Stutter Law podcast aims to rebuild confidence and hope for today's and tomorrow's persons who happens to stutter by dismantling stuttering myths, stigmas, stereotypes, and barriers.
The objectives of Some Stutter Law podcast are supporting, raising awareness, and increasing understanding and acceptance of stuttering, providing people who stutter, their families, professionals, students, and the general public with current information, research, and resources about stuttering, and promoting advocacy and support for people who stutter.
Today's Some Stutter Law welcomes Eddie Slack, and Eddie currently lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. And Eddie moved to Scottsdale after a successful career as a gold medalist for Sweden in World Hockey Championship and a 6-year run with the NHL. And his nickname is the Stork, and the Stork is in reference to his tall stature and long legs. And Eddie also is a person who stutters. So welcome to Some Stutter Law, Eddie.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before I ask you questions, I have lots of questions. I'm going to turn it over to Katelyn, because her boyfriend, I understand, is an avid sports fanatic, and he's a fan of yours. So Katelyn, do you want to start asking questions?
Sure. Yeah, I brought it up to my boyfriend and his friends that I was interviewing an NHL player, and they freaked out. And they were like, "What's his name? What's his name? Who is
it?" So, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so none of them knew that you were a person who stutters. So I guess the first thing that I want to ask about is just your background and kind of your history and your experience growing up as a person who stutters.
Yeah, so I was born in Sweden, and my stutter started when I was around 5 or 6 years old, I think. It's kind of been coming and going. So sometimes I stutter a lot, and sometimes I stutter less. So it's just something that I kind of learned to live with and just embraced, right, instead of being embarrassed of it. And yeah, now when I speak two languages and everything, I kind of feel like I stutter a little bit more in Swedish than what I do in English. So yeah, it's been a fun journey with the NHL and everything. I mean, I feel like when I did interviews and everything like that, when you're employed by a team, you kind of have to watch your answers a little bit and like modify them to what the team wants and everything. And I feel like when I'm not being myself and I'm more trying to give answers that were provided to me, then I stutter a little bit more than when I can just be myself and just like talk whatever I feel like, instead of think about it so much, right? So yeah, that's kind of my stutter background, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll talk a little bit about kind of your time in the NHL, because being in the public eye and being a person who stutters is something that we don't see a lot of. And I'm sure it was definitely difficult doing all of those post-game interviews and things like that. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that. Did you try and hide your stutter? Was it something that made you nervous about going into these interviews? What was that like?
I think at first I was a little bit nervous, and I didn't really know how people were gonna act, or if I was gonna get some mean comments or whatnot, right? So that was the hardest thing, I think, just like the unknown, because I didn't really know how people were gonna react, right? So I think that made me a little nervous, and like when I'm nervous, I stutter a little bit more, I feel like, too. So yeah, it was definitely a learning curve for me. I feel like one of the turning points that I had, so when I played in Vancouver, there was this girl, her name was Madeline, and she sent me the most like inspiring letter, where she kind of just like said like, hey, like I'm stuttering too, and I'm in school, and I'm 8 or 9 years old and everything. You're my role model for like being up there and like speaking in front of people and everything like that. So that was kind of the turning point, and I think that after that I didn't really care if I stuttered or not, because I kind of knew that I was doing something good, and like what I was doing was inspiring other people as well.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I know we've talked a lot on the podcast about kind of the importance of people who stutter having role models and seeing other people who stutter succeeding and stuttering freely and openly in public and things like that. And obviously, with everything that you've achieved, you're a great role model, and that's evident by the story. And so just wondering, how does that make you feel, and kind of what advice would you give to kids who are stuttering and need that positive role model?
I mean, the advice that I would give is just like be yourself, and if people for whatever reason don't like you, I mean, that's their loss, I think, and we can only control what we can control, right? And my speech is just part of who I am, right? So I just try to embrace it.
Eddie, I read Ryan Crawley's new book, All the
Yeah.
Right Words: My Journey as a Sports Writer Who Stutters. And you wrote the forward for Ryan's book, and your forward is quite powerful. And so so a lot of what you just shared about your history is actually in this in your forward. Now, would you like to share, Eddie, how how you came in contact with Ryan, the situation that you mentioned there?
Yeah, so I think that I was on a radio show in Vancouver, so I do a weekly segment there, and someone posted on Twitter, I think it was, just like, I had to turn off the radio. I couldn't stand listening to you, like not being able to put sentences and stuff together. And I reposted it, so a lot of people saw it and kind of came out in my defense and everything. And I think Ryan saw it, and he just reached out to me and just said like, hey, like I'm stuttering as well, and I'm kind of in the same position as you, and I'm trying to be in the public spotlight and everything. Don't put too much energy into what other people think and everything like that. And yeah, we just kind of started talking, and we started sharing stories and experiences and everything like that. And then he told me that he was writing a book, and yeah, I read it a few months ago now, and was honored when he asked me if I wanted to write the forward.
You also ended off the forward by writing, stressing out about stuttering, worrying about what other people think, and stuttering through didn't matter in the end. Viewers like to watch other people that are different and show an honest personality, and that's what I did. So if someone who enjoys an inspiring story, regardless of your person who stutters or not, this book is for you. And it's true. Ryan's book is so so powerful and insightful. I also liked how you ended off your forward, Eddie. Look, if you had one shot, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Be you, take your time and capture it. So, do you want to share that? Just share a little more details about that, because I mean, it is quite poignant.
Yeah, no, the lyrics are actually from a song from Eminem, right? And I just feel like it captures a lot of what I'm trying to do on a daily basis, right? And there's so many different there's so many different what do I say? Not opportunity. Well, I guess there's so many different opportunities and like so many different choices that you have when you go through your days, and I just feel like I wanted to be one of these people that like took every chance that I get, and like don't have any regrets at the end of the day, because that's not how I want to live my life.
See, when you first write in your forward, you may also mention that you also used a poem here. I mean, you also stated a poem as well. His palms are sweating, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. He's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting. No, this also relates to your first interview with
Yeah.
for Vancouver, and you talk about losing yourself, and there's the only thing was on your mind was this was nothing like fun for me. I had one goal to survive. Do you want to share that, Eddie?
Yeah, and I feel like when you go and this is kind of what I did in my interview in the beginning when I first came in the league and everything. I just felt like the goal for me was just to get through the interview, and like when you go into something with that mindset, it doesn't matter if it's an interview or it's stopping pucks or whatever. Like when you go into something with the mindset of not to fail, you're probably going to fail. But when you go into something with the mindset, I'm going to be me and I'm going to succeed, you will probably succeed. So that's kind of how my mentality switched throughout my career, I think.
It's an important kind of mentality switch, I think, for anybody, but especially somebody dealing with a stutter or any sort of thing that's kind of posing an obstacle for them. On that topic, though, even though you kind of switched that mindset, or do you still have any kind of doubts occasionally about your ability because of your stutter with, your hockey career and then now doing what you're doing in real estate and coaching and things like that?
I think that it was hard for me when I switched jobs again, because like the hockey stuff, I kind of got used to it and it became part of my everyday life to do the interviews and everything. And then when I switched and tried something completely new, and like now I'm talking to other agents and talking to clients and everything like that, like then I think I became a little bit nervous in the beginning again, just like, how was this going to go? How was people going to react to my stuttering and everything like that? But I think that once that initial phase just kind of went over, then I just think that I proved to myself that I really have nothing to be scared of.
You see, this this is one of this is one of the main reasons, Eddie, that many people who stutter become covert stutterers. They actually try to hide their stuttering because of being judged, being stigmatized. And so Eddie, when when you made this decision to be open and honest about your stuttering, to be Eddie, do you have like bad days when you have a train wreck speaking experience, and if you do, how do you use self-care for Eddie when you have a bad day or a bad speaking experience?
Yeah, so I have bad days and I have bad speaking experience and everything. And honestly, a lot of the time, I just can't explain why I had a bad speaking experience. So, like when I played hockey and I let in a goal, I could kind of pinpoint on like what I did wrong and what I can do better. With my speaking, I really can't pinpoint it. Like I usually walk around a lot when I speak because I feel like I'm more comfortable doing that. My wife says that I speak a lot worse when I'm walking around compared to like sitting still and everything. Yeah. But I just feel better while I'm doing it. So when I have a bad day, I really don't try to focus on it too much. It's like I said, when I let in a goal, I kind of know what I can do better. But with my stuttering, I can't really pinpoint what I can improve on. It's just me, right? So when I have those days, I kind of just try to realize and acknowledge to myself that this is one of like very, very few bad days that I have now. And I just try to focus more on my wins compared to my losses.
So, so I sense that you have an acceptance of your stuttering now, Eddie? Like like it has been, it has been a challenging journey for you. And do you feel that you're at the time now that you're more comfortable with your stutter? You really now I can't say you don't really care what people think, but Eddie wants to be Eddie first and foremost.
No, exactly. And like, I want to make it really clear too. And like, when I talk to other colleagues and everything that understands my situation, and everything, I feel like stuttering is not a measure of intelligence or anything, right? Like, stuttering is just something that I do sometimes, right? But when it comes to providing value or like getting my point across, I don't think it matters if I would stutter or not. Does that make sense?
It actually does, Eddie. It actually does. And as you know, as Katelyn was saying that you were a role model for people that stutter. You really are.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So Katelyn, do you have any more questions for Eddie?
I do. I just had one more question, a bit more about kind of your experience in the NHL.
Can I say something more to before?
Of course, of course.
When you say that I'm a role model and everything, I kind of feel like all of us that stutters, we're kind of role models for each other at this point, right? And we're this little community that just supports each other, and that's what I think is so cool about this. So yeah, that was all I want to say. Thank you. Keep going.
Oh, and just to follow up what you're saying, Eddie, you're right, because the more that we share our stories, and the more that we learned from each other, each and every person that stutters, knowing what we go through daily, we all deserve Oscars.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, Katelyn, go ahead.
No worries. It's I, as someone from the outside who's not a person who stutters, seeing that kind of community build and making those connections here on the podcast with people and seeing kind of people relate to each other, it's really, really cool. So it's definitely a really cool comment. But I just wanted to throw out one more question. I know if people won't be able to see the video, so Eddie's literally been running around like driving in his car, so he's very busy. So I don't want to take too much of his time, but I have one more question.
Yeah.
So in the NHL, were you, I guess I kind of already asked this, but open about your stutter? What was the atmosphere like? And do you think that sports leagues could kind of benefit from more awareness on different stigmatized issues like stuttering?
Yeah. And I think that I've been very open with everything, and it's just one of these things. It's almost like it's always easier making fun of yourself before someone else has the chance to make fun of you, right? So I've kind of just like been this open guy, and I don't really care that much about the stuttering and everything, and I've kind of made jokes about myself instead of just like getting the heat from other people, right? So I think that the biggest thing is just being open with who you are, and just be true to yourself.
And that's strong words, words of wisdom. To actually own and speak speak your truth. Because it is so easy. easily for people who stutter to actually lose their sense of identity in individuality, because we're so afraid of being judged, stigmatized. But you're right, Eddie. The more that we're open and share our stories, the more that we all gain more confidence as people who stutter to find our voice.
100%. No, I agree.
Well, Eddie, this has been a wonderful interview, and thanks a lot for your time, because it is obvious that that you're a very busy man. So
That's what my
Katelyn,
wife keeps telling me every day.
so Katelyn, do you have any last words for Eddie?
I don't. I was just wondering if he had any last words he wanted to say, anything he wanted, any fans of his that might be listening to this to hear, any kind of, closing remarks, anything that we missed.
I just want to say, just whoever you are, and if you have a stutter, or if you have some other thing that you're dealing with in your life, I would just say, like, don't be scared of showing who you are. Like, my whole world has just opened up. I feel like once I wasn't scared of showing other people who I was, right? So yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you again, Eddie. Okay.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks so much for coming. Very exciting.
Okay.
Lots of people are very excited about this interview.
Awesome.
Some Stutter La, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, has so much to talk about. Let's start listening.
This has been an episode of Some Stutter La, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. Some Stutter La is hosted and produced by Greg O'Grady and Katelyn Mayo, Dr. Paul DeDecker, Melanie Crane, and Luca Dino. Some Stutter La is available on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. You can also check out the Some Stutter La channel on YouTube to ask questions, send us comments or suggestions, or just get in touch. Find us online on @Some Stutter Podcast on Instagram, or Some Stutter La Pod on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening.